together early time in 11, 12, 13, is that, the smallest of thing could knock us off. If all of a sudden that my pregame routine meant I did this, this, and this, but I couldn't do the second thing because there was an ask for an appearance right before the game or whatever it was, we started really honing in on the idea of being nimble. So we would try to disrupt on purpose and see if we could, get them to grow and mature. Well, that's the name of the game in coaching. You've got to be nimble. You got to be nimble with what your team is going to bring that day. They're 18 to 22 year olds. They're going to bring you stuff. It's gonna be an adventure. And so being able to be nimble, and I've seen all of that from Lindsay, and I'm just really happy for her, and obviously those that adore her. She gets a tremendous hand when she's introduced at the barn, and it's just really cool. I'm glad it's working out so well.
And my sense is that when a star athlete goes back to his or her alma mater and fails, because they felt like the job was a reward, not a task. And Lindsay's certainly treating it like a task.
Yep. And that's exactly what you would think. Lindsay has a certain level of, there's definitely an overriding desire to succeed, but the fear of failure motivates. And she's always had that feeling like she's not quite good enough. And so it motivates her to be, to push and to expand and to be better. And that, like I said, that's why she's been so successful.
Let's talk about Janelle McCarville a little bit. Do want to once again thank Glory Ramsey. Go to SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com to find out more about her business. Go to SuccessfulMarketingGroup.com/Cheryl Reeve to get a free 45-minute action plan from Glory. She'll help you get found. She'll help you get found on internet searches. She will help you get found by the right audience, by people who actually want your product. It's all about targeting. It's all about intelligent marketing, and Glory can provide that. So, of course, I was around Janelle a lot when she was at the U and when she was with the Lynx. But I did go over to her place in Wisconsin once and hang out with her for a day, and it was pretty funny. She knows how to have a good time, and she likes four-wheeling around. She really got the sense she was a country person. She liked the wide open spaces. She liked being able to get out and just, do stuff outdoors.
Yeah, that's her happy place. There's no doubt about that. But we said that we knew when the ball stopped bouncing and Janelle, kind of hung up her sneakers, that's where she'd be. That is something she's so proud of. And just like you said, that's, she's big on her family, obviously very close to her dad, but then has a ton of nieces and nephews. And, that's just, that's her place. That's her happy place. And, for now, she's player coaching over in Sweden, which has really been interesting, that she's kind of found, such a niche there, to be coaching. I think, a lot of players along the way always say no. When you talk about coaching, no, not me. It's not going to be me. I'm going to have other things I'm going to want to do. And without fail, a large percentage of them go into coaching. And so it's interesting that Janelle is among that category. Jim Pete asked Janelle what kind of coach she was. And Janelle said that she was tough. She doesn't let him get away with anything, and just had a list of things. And Jim laughed. He goes, "Oh, the coach that you didn't like playing for."
Exactly.
So it's and we know that as coaches, it always comes full circle after a player is coached, and then they turn around and become coaches themselves. It is fascinating what the takeaways are and who they become, and then without fail, you typically get these notes of, geez, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, this or that. But happy for Janelle that she's got such a groove going over with her team in Sweden as continuing to play, which I love because Janelle's talents are just so enjoyable to watch. And, I'm glad she's got it going on over there in Sweden.
Well, to me, the beautiful part of basketball is passing and ball movement. And she was just such a wonderful passer.
She really, her instincts, just second to none of any player I've ever coached at that position. I just counted on her, in ways that trusted, that we put the ball in her hands, that not only did you have Lindsay Whalen as a point guard to do that, but then you also had, our center that you were able to run the offense through. So, like you said, it's a beautiful, beautiful form of basketball.
And as far as coaches, what you said about coaches and players, I saw that so often. I covered the Twins in the 90s. Can't tell you how many players hated Tom Kelly for a while. And then once they left the Twins, they became coaches or managers, and they adopted like almost everything he did.
Yep. That's how it happens.
Yep, absolutely. So Nafisa Collier, named Minnesota Professional Athlete of the Year. I think you were at that ceremony. What do you think that meant to Nafisa?
Well, again, she's a young person, but, sort of, kind of mature beyond her years. I think she understood the magnitude of that, the fact that she made such an effort to be in market, to accept it, I thought was really cool. If you saw the kind of the competition, the other nominees, there were some strong nominations. In this market, professional sports is just so good. And so I think it hit her, the magnitude of the season that she had, to be the one that was selected as the Professional Athlete of the Year. I know she was incredibly honored.
And it is an amazing market. It's one of the reasons I have such a great job is, you have all these professional sports teams. Pretty much every professional sport is represented here. You have the Lynx, who have won 4 championships in the last decade. You have a Big Ten school, very highly developed. You have an MLS team. You have a highly developed high school sports scene. You have winter sports. I mean, there's just so much going on here. I know in my case, sometimes it's hard to keep up with it all. So yeah, to win in this market, it really means something. We are at the end of the decade here. This is our last show of the 2010s, I guess. And we're coming to the end of the decade in which your team won 4 championships and you participated in some gold medal experiences with your players. Do you have, just to wrap up this show and this year and this decade, what do you think about when you reflect on all of that?
I have, lately, I think, because when you come upon, the idea like, wow, I've been here 10 years, that's an entire decade. What first comes to mind is how time flies. I think all of us could agree to that, different parts of our lives, and having a 5-year-old of those 10 years, time has absolutely flown. But the other piece of it is, just the appreciation I have for the way that our franchise has represented this market, the ways in which Glenn Taylor and Becky Taylor have empowered our team, to allow us to excel to new heights. And, I think the culture that we've established is one that I think is the envy of many. And I think that that's something we're really proud of. And so now, as we close this decade and move to the start of a new decade, the challenge remains that motivates me is continuing what we've done, which was so great, for the decade of the 2010s. Let's make 2020s. It's hard to say just as successful because 4 championships in 7 years is not something that will be duplicated for a long, long time in our sport. And, really in any sport. Pro sports is really hard to do. And so, have such an appreciation for those times, but our goal remains the same, which is to be a championship team. And so I'm very motivated and challenged by the ability to keep that going.
And last question for you. What is your level of optimism for the next decade? Given that, most dynasties have to back off a little bit and rebuild. Do you feel like that you need to rebuild, or can you win right away?
Well, and I think we showed that last year. I think that we can remain competitive, no doubt about that. We continue to have Sylvia Fowles at the center of this thing, pun intended. And we found ourselves a player in Nafisa Collier who will be with us for the next decade. And so I think from that standpoint, when you have kind of those 2 pillars, there is no question that we need to be able to add, as we saw with our quote dynasty team, what it takes. Those were players that were some of the best at their position of all time, and it was difficult, to win championships. So we know where we need to be talent wise, and we're going to work to continue to we know exactly what it has to look like. And, of course, I'm optimistic. There are 12 teams in this league. Movement is difficult. We don't have free agency in the ways that the other professional sports have free agency because of the core. It'll be interesting to see how the new collective bargaining agreement, alters that and ways in which that we can build our team. But I look at the New England Patriots, as much as I loathe them, mostly because of the leadership of that team
and the cheating.
That was my shade. We didn't cheat. We don't have to cheat. You don't have to cheat when you're that darn good, and so I just don't understand that component to it. But that's I digress. The Patriots are good every year for a reason. They're thought to be in the mix every year for a reason, and I would like for as we move into the next decade that the Lynx are thought of in that same company. So we know what we need to do and how to get there. And so, I'm very optimistic in terms of the future of the next decade for the Lynx.
So what I'm hearing is you're going to set up some video surveillance of all of your opposing teams and steal their secrets.
Yeah. And then if you get caught, just say that you weren't really filming that. And then the
video was hilarious. Oh my God, that video is so funny.
Oh man. But it's crazy in this day. All you have to do is deny it, allegations, just deny it. And kind of, I guess, to take the I don't want to say playing dumb route, but it's embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. And I don't understand. Maybe that's why they've been successful, but I don't think so. I think that he's probably a really good coach and, gets the most out of his players, but that's at the end of the day, that's not what's going to be his legacy. And that's what's, I think, really, really sad. That he had to cheat. He has to, everywhere you turn, he has to cheat. And I'll tell Dawn Mitchell so. I know she's a huge fan of her New England teams, but do it the right way. You have enough talent. You're a great coach and you got great players. Do it the right way. It's just absurd.
I've covered the NFL since 1989, and the ways he's been caught cheating seem completely irrelevant to his success. But if you're getting caught doing all those things, you might be doing some bigger stuff too.
That's exactly right. These are only things that we know about.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure the inside of the NFL probably has many, many stories.
Yeah, I've had that conversation with an NFL employee recently. It's going to be really interesting to see if anything more comes out, or if anything more comes out once he finally retires and people feel safe taking him on.
Exactly.
But we've digressed. The point I wanted to make was you had a great decade. It's been a blast doing the show with you. Thank you, and we'll talk to you in the new year.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jim.